Hi there, thanks for taking in this presentation on social selling with LinkedIn. Hopefully you will glean enough information from this presentation to be able to leverage it in your social selling skills or journey that you're going down. And so the first thing is, what is social selling? Well, social selling, if you take a look at the second definition here, social selling is where salespeople use social media to interact directly with their prospects. What I look at is the fact is that social selling is the ability to engage and interact with potential prospects and give them valuable information or reach out to them, pique their curiosity, and then when they're ready to buy, they're coming to you, or you've already got them into a sales funnel. So, I mean, social selling, it's literally not a, current fad or trend. It is kind of the new reality, and in a few years from now, you won't even be discussing social selling. It will become the new norm. So, who's using LinkedIn for sales? Well, there's a buy side and a sell side on this stuff, and you have to take a look at both of them. So, from the buyer profile or buy side, literally, um, buyers are going online, B2B buyers are going online typically almost 50% of the time and doing their research and going through LinkedIn profiles. And, if you have an incomplete profile, so if your profile doesn't look good, you don't have pictures, you don't have enough description on what you do, literally you're being discounted by 50% of those people that are pretty much going to LinkedIn to try to find the opportunities. Um, if you just look through some of these statistics, you'll realize that B2B buyers will almost 60% of the time have started down their buying decision before they're even willing or able to be willing to talk to a sales rep to engage with them. Now, the other thing too you need to specifically take a look at is kind of old school, where 92% of buyers say they delete emails or voice messages when it comes from somebody that they don't know. So that's a huge amount. Now, the other thing too is the average cold call appointment rate is 2.5%. In fact, I think that's actually high. I've seen examples where it's significantly lower than that, and the odds are stacked against you. I mean, if you take a look at it this way, why would you spend 97.5% of your time doing something that's not going to amount to any kind of opportunity for you? So, the other thing you need to take a look at is you can leverage LinkedIn to get a warm referral. And third point from the bottom here, if you take a look, is a warm referral from somebody will increase your odds of sales success by 2 times to 4 times. So a significant amount right there. And long story short, B2B buyers are going online to try to find solutions and opportunities. And if you're not there engaging or putting out thought leadership or content or anything like that, then you are missing a huge opportunity. Now, let's take a look at kind of the seller side or social statistics side of social selling statistics on this one. Is sellers that are engaging with social media and social selling tactics typically are hitting their quotas a lot more, and in addition to that, they stand out against their peers. There's lots and lots of opportunities that are available to individuals. So, um, long story short is specifically if you're not engaging, especially through LinkedIn, which is the social media, the business network for social media, then you're missing out on a huge opportunity. So, as I said, social selling isn't something to do in the future. It's part of the here and now. It's the new norm. And a couple of years from now, basically, social selling will just be kind of a term that's um, specifically in line with selling. So, LinkedIn stats, here's something you need to take a look at. So, there's almost 350 million registered users on LinkedIn. Basically, 40% of these people check LinkedIn on a daily basis. And if you put a photo in your profile, if you don't have a photo right now, you should put a profile in, or a profile photo in, because you'll get 11 times the amount of views just from having that photo in there. If you have a profile that lists your skill set, you're going to get about 13 times more views if you're listing that sort of stuff. Now, here's something that was truly baffling to me: is only 13% of millennials are on LinkedIn. So people that are 13 to 35. Now, of course, I can understand people that are 18 and under. but people up to 35, if only 13% of these people are on LinkedIn, it's a huge opportunity if you fall in that demographics because your counterparts are not engaging or finding the potential connections online that you'd be able to if you are leveraging LinkedIn. Here's an interesting stat: 41% of all millionaires in the world are using LinkedIn. So, I mean, that's a significant number. And then, last but not least, this is specific to Canada. 76% of all Canadian LinkedIn users go online monthly to look at stuff. So here is my kind of top 11 tips for LinkedIn. First one is if you're not on LinkedIn, you need to join LinkedIn immediately. 350 million people, business people around the world, they're on LinkedIn, and if you're not there, you're missing out on opportunities. One of the things you should do is complete your profile when you get onto LinkedIn. And one of the easiest ways to complete your profile, if you don't have time or don't know how to do it or do it specifically, is you can go to fiverr.com and find a person that will do this for $5. You will have to supply some information. They will vet it and make it a complete profile, but just a very quick, easy way to do that. So one of the other things you should take a look at is there's an ability to give recommendations in LinkedIn. And I would highly recommend anyone that you've worked with or anyone that you've done business with, if you want, give them a recommendation. Don't expect to get one in return, but you can ask them, like, hey, if I give you a recommendation, would you be willing to give me a recommendation? The other thing too is if you're doing work with specific people, ask for a recommendation. And what you should do is write out that recommendation for someone and just say, here's what you could potentially use, wordsmith it the way you want it. But that said, make sure that you are getting recommendations because it's social proof to show that you know what you're doing and how you can help people. The other one too is there's the ability to endorse people for skill sets. So my recommendation on this is you should be endorsing other people on LinkedIn. The other thing too is it'll come back to you. People will also endorse you. One of the things that I've found that works for me is that if someone endorses me, typically I will reach out to them and say, hey, thank you very much for the endorsement. If there's anything I can do to help you out, please let me know, and I'd be more than happy to do that. One of the things that they do have in there is great. It's the groups section. And you can go into groups and search for specific relevant groups in a geographical area based on a profile or whatever that you might be into. So you could have a specific industry that you're in, a specific geographical area, and understand that you can join that group and network with individuals in the group. One of the things that I love about being in a group is that a lot of the times you have the ability to send an email or an in-mail, as LinkedIn calls it, for free to people in your second or third degree network in the groups section. So typically these in-mails cost money, or you got to get a premium account to do that sort of stuff. If you're part of a relevant group, you can search people in a geographical area or by title or whatever. And if they haven't turned off, there is a setting that's in groups that says I don't want to receive emails from individuals. But literally, I bet you 95% or even higher don't turn that off. So you have the ability to actually send in-mails or emails to these individuals that could be in your target demographic. One of the other things too I always talk about is share relevant information. So if you come across something, you have the ability to share it in LinkedIn, and it'll show up in your stream for individuals. I'll get more in depth on this in a couple of minutes, a couple of slides down, to show you how to do this sort of stuff. One of the things that I would say is, when you meet someone, connect with them. See if they're on LinkedIn. Reach out, connect with them. Not everyone's going to connect with you, but growing your network is the biggest thing that you should be taking a look at, because you can leverage so much more with people. The other thing too is you can connect with your past acquaintances. And one of the things that's great about LinkedIn is you can connect your email accounts in there, and it will go through and it'll take a look at, who do I know, or who are these individuals? And then what happens is it will make recommendations to you saying, hey, you know what, you should think about connecting with this person or that person, which could be, past acquaintances, obviously. The other one that I take a look at is, depending on the level of account you have, I've always had a premium account, so I don't know what it's like with a free account, but premium accounts, you can actually see who's viewed your profile. And when they view your profile, what you should do is just reach out to them and say, hey, I see you viewed my profile. I like connecting with people on LinkedIn. Would be honored to have you as a connection, and then just send it off to them, see if they'll connect. One of the things that is also specifically, which is really good on LinkedIn, is the ability to follow companies. So what you do when you're following companies is companies will put information up in their stream. So they'll make announcements. They'll do this. They'll do that. If you're going after a company or you're working with a company, it's a great way to see what kind of information is flowing from that company, so that is this something that I want to go talk to them about? Is this something that can get me in the door? The other thing that's great about following companies is the ability to, when you actually are in a company profile, on the upper right hand side at the time of this recording, which is May 2015, you should be able to see who the connections are. You can see first, second, and third connections. I don't know if you can see group connections, but it's a great way to go in and see which kind of people are in there. And when you click on any of those links up in that upper corner, it'll take you to the advanced search, so you can further vet that down for you as well. Last but not least is give and get referrals. So different than recommendations, referrals. So if I know someone who's in LinkedIn, and I have another person that I think would be of interest to them, I will make a referral saying, hey, Jim, you need to go meet Bob here. I think there's some synergies between you two because of X, Y, Z, whatever it is. Please feel free to reach out. Now, before you do that, though, you know what? I would highly recommend that you let both parties know that you'd like to introduce them because of the ability to connect. Don't just spring it on them or anything like that. And the other thing too is, leverage LinkedIn, and I'll get into this in a couple of minutes, but you can actually find people to see if you can get a referral into potential opportunities. I use that religiously. It works very well. So I'm going to go through 5 tricks/tips that you can use in LinkedIn. In this case, if you go up to the top of LinkedIn, you've got a search bar. You've got the advanced search functionality. So it's the big white bar across the top here. When you click on advanced, what'll happen is it brings this screen up. Now, what you do is you take a look at really specifically what you want to find about a person. You can look at the keywords, if you know a person's first name or last name, if you know their title. One of the things you want to take a look at is, with their title, do you want someone who's currently got that title or doesn't have that title? And also, what I always look at is, specifically where are they located? One of the things that we can do is also you can take a look at companies. But in this case, I'm looking for controllers that are current title located near Calgary, within 50 miles. And the other thing I did was I wanted to make sure that they were specifically in the oil and energy sector. So I clicked on the industry. So when you click that search button, really what comes up is, in this case, I get 740 results that show up that are controllers that are in the Calgary area with the current title controller. And then what you see is, if you go down this list here, what you're going to see is there's some first connections. There's also some second connections. You'll see group connections. So there's different connections. So a first connection is someone you're directly connected to. A second connection is somebody that you know is connected to them, which is a great way to get in the door, but I'll get into that in a couple of seconds here. So one of the things that you do is, once you've created this kind of search, when the results come up, if you click up here, you see Save Search. And then what you do is you go in and you can actually title that search and then save it. And what happens is, on a weekly basis, LinkedIn will send you any new results that hit that list based on those parameters. So yeah, you go in and you save this. Now, why you want to do this is that if someone has changed or gone into a role, the statistics typically are that within the first 3 months at a new position, that person is about 10 times more likely to make a product or service change in their organization. So that is really when to strike when the iron's hot. If you see someone come up on that list and it's in a specific company, then what you do is you want to go and approach them in a specific specifically with potentially some information or some knowledge, what I would do is I'd reach out to them and say, hey, look, I see you're doing your position. I greatly appreciate that. Here's a piece of information that we've shared with other people in a like in a like position, like industry, that has dramatically helped them either increase revenue, reduce costs, blah blah blah, whatever that is, and then say I'd appreciate an opportunity to potentially set up a meeting with you and see if there's any way that I can assist you in anything that you may be undertaking. Now, the nice thing about this, though, is, like I say, it's delivered to your inbox every week, so you may have a huge opportunity. So in this case, if you take a look, I've got Vice President Marketing, Owner, VP, Vice President of Sales, and literally there's like 75, 65, and 75 new people that have hit those specific searches on a weekly basis. So I mean, this thing's actually delivering potential leads to the door for you, just based on that. The other thing too is once you've gone into the referrals. So I've talked to this a couple times in this presentation here, but once you get a list of people pulled together, then you can figure out a way that you might be able to get in. So once again, I'm going to go back to, if you get a warm referral in, you got 2 to 4 times greater chance of sales success. So why anyone wouldn't use this is beyond me. But anyways, let's take a look at Paul here from AltaGas. He's a controller there, and one of the things I see is I've got 7 shared connections with Paul. So it's 7 potential ways that I could actually get in to introduce myself to Paul. So realistically, here's the results after I've clicked on those 7 shared connections. It pulls up a list and says, hey, here's all the guys that that are connected to Paul. You can reach out to these guys. And realistically, if you go to that person, if I go to Paul's LinkedIn profile, down the right-hand side, I'm going to see how you're connected, if I have a connection or a second connection with this guy, with this person. And it shows me the top 3. Then what I want to do is go in here where it says get introduced and go for that introduction. So realistically, what I do is it pulls up an inbox or an in-mail for me. So it says get introduced. Who do you want to make the introduction? So when I click on that, choose a shared connection, these people all come up here. And I can pick whoever that is that I want to introduce me into Paul. Now the other thing too is make sure why you want to get an introduction to that person. So if you look on the left-hand side, down in the text box there, it says exactly that. Just make sure hey, I really want to make sure that I'm trying to help this guy out because we've done this at these types of companies. Da da da. Would you be able to introduce me? If not, I completely understand and appreciate your thought on this. Regards, your name, whatever. So why do you want to do this? Almost 90% of executives never respond to or buy from cold calls or unsolicited emails. Yet more than 90% engage when referred by a connection, such as a friend, a colleague, a customer, or a peer in the industry. So just think about that for a second. You know what? If you're engaging with this person with a cold call or an unsolicited email or even an introduction letter, 90% of these guys won't even bother looking at your stuff unless it's super compelling and it hits a pain point that they've got right now. So the flip side to this is leverage your network. So this is interesting. You need to grow your network as fast as humanly possible so that you have all these different ways to get into these in to see this person. So once again, 80% will engage when referred with a connection. Those odds are tremendous in your favor. I would highly recommend that you do that. Next one, endorsements. I talked about it earlier. When you go on to someone's profile, at least when I go in and I look at someone's profile, a lot of the times it will pull up an endorsement section at the very top. And realistically, what I do is I just click on those. When I go through, sometimes I just click endorse, 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 endorse. If I don't know somebody, because I've got numerous connections that I've got where I don't really particularly have a relationship with them, I don't necessarily endorse them because I don't know if they can do that or anything like that. But in this case, I know all these guys up here, and I would endorse all of them. And you can go through and endorse one. You can endorse as many as you want. But the nice thing about it is, you grow your own endorsements by that law of reciprocity. So if someone sees that you've endorsed them, they'll come back and try to potentially endorse you as well. And why is that important? It's important because when someone looks at your profile and they see the different skill sets that you have and how many endorsements you have, it means that people are kind of giving you props for basically doing what you say you can do. So highly recommend that you give endorsements, as well as potentially you can get some endorsements back from individuals. One of the other ones is the sharing of content. So this is very particular. This is specific. You should be doing this for your industry. And so when you're online and you're looking at stuff and you think it's relevant to what you do or your marketplace, one of the things you can do is, in a lot of cases, there are social share buttons that are on the content itself. So in this case, if you look down at the bottom there is Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn with abilities to share this content. Now, when you click on that, one of the things it'll do is I clicked on Twitter. In that case, it brings it up. But this is something that I do specifically based on, I leverage Hootsuite and a Chrome app, a Google Chrome app called Hootlet. And I also use it with Buffer as well. But when I click on that, what happens, it allows me the ability to go and take that information and put it up to multiple social media accounts that I have. So in this case, when I click on that Hootlet icon that's on my LinkedIn profile, then what it does is it brings up a box that looks like this. And then what I can do is, the very top box has different social media profiles that I have. I can click on up to 5. And then what I can do is I can hit auto schedule, and that will schedule it out throughout the day. So this is the content that I put up. So I can hit my Twitter feeds, Facebook, LinkedIn. Those are the only feeds that I hit right now. I hit Google Plus as well, sorry. So there's 4 that I can hit right there. And I've got multiple accounts. I got 11 or 12 different social media accounts that fall under any of those. And it allows you to put that information up, so it's going to go into your feed. The other thing too is this icon here. So you can go to the Google Chrome or the Chrome store or the web apps store for Chrome, and you can download these down to your bar. So this one is Buffer. So same sort of thing. When I click on that, it brings up a box. It's very similar to this, to the box you just saw from the Hootlet one. And then you can select your different social media profiles, and then you add to the queue. And same thing, it'll post it out at different times throughout the day. So why is this important? You know what? 74% of B2B buyers will abandon a search if the company doesn't have a strong social presence. If you're not putting content out, if you're not educating people, if you're not doing anything, then you know what? People are just going to ignore you. The other thing too is that what I find is, when I go through and I look at my my stream or my news feed on LinkedIn, sometimes I see guys put up really cool information. I'm like, oh, wow, that's actually interesting. Jim Bob here is, he's a thought leader in this area, and he's got some information that might be relevant. You know what? If I got a problem, maybe I should reach out to this guy and just get some information from him. So it's a great opportunity for you to shine above, counterparts in your industry. The last one I'm going to show is something that's called the Connected app from LinkedIn. And this one I think is extremely useful from a standpoint of, it sits on your phone. It's an application, iPhone, Android. I have no idea whether it's available for BlackBerry. But anyways, you can use this. And what happens is, when you click on it, and if you take a look down at the bottom part of my, this is my screen off my iPad or iPhone. The middle one down on the bottom row is the Connected app. So when I click on that, it brings up a screen like this. And what it does is, it tells you, hey, you know what? There's people in your network that you need to be reaching out to. And in the case of new jobs and birthdays, you can actually send or comment to these people. So literally, when I'm sitting around and I'm in between meetings, I pull up my phone and I start going through and sending out, hey, happy birthday, or congratulations on the new job. The other one it'll do is, it'll actually show you potential connections. So in this case, it brings up this Jason Culleton and says, hey, you know what? Yeah, here's a couple of connections that that know him. Do you want to connect with this person? And you can actually connect that way. Like I say, it's a great way to keep in contact with connections while you're on the fly. So I hope you find that information useful. and can use it to your benefit. And feel free to reach out to me, Chris at salestipaday.com, if you have any questions.